on the test, this is what's going to be on the test. I'll give you a second, and then we'll probably jot some stuff down with it. You might, it's totally up to you if you want to skip spaces. You might want to jot in extra stuff. I didn't really set it up to do that. But we could go through the steps on the calculator, what you do for each different part or whatever. I sort of mixed it all together and did make it set up well for you guys to really take notes on it.
I already have everything. Yes.
Oh gosh.
Mine is dropped from the 85 to the 62.
I'm gonna go check then.
Yours probably went up though. I didn't do a lot of labs.
Well, that'll do it for you.
It isn't really hard.
Dude, I'm 90 in there now.
Yeah, but what?
I'm a 90.
You know what?
Every day I miss. I
What?
miss a brown day.
Bro, my grade went 75 to 92 in that class. Because I turned everything. Because I missed the last 4 anatomy classes because of doctor's appointments.
I just missed zoology a lot because I didn't want to come in early.
I miss zoology. Every day I miss, it's brown.
I got a 96.
Yeah, I gotta finish some things.
And I didn't turn in like the papers. No, mine's at a 96.
Well, the grades are due today.
Heck, man. That's stupid.
And my binder grade for English still isn't there. I'm on the first one.
Riley, did you get my email?
So if she doesn't grade
Oh, yeah.
it,
I got it.
You want to tell me anything, or are you just
Yeah, I
going
will.
to make up stuff?
I'll tell you it when I go home today at noon. You know.
I have to water plants.
A lot of this stuff you can do on your calculator, some of it you can't. Stuff I notice here. Find the critical values, the margin of error, and the the critical values and the margin of error, and the point of estimates. Some of that you can't. That's the stuff that we did where you had to either add, if they give you the interval 5 and 8, to find the point of estimate, that's what's right in the middle. You had to add these two and divide by 2. Does everybody remember that? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah.
To find the margin of error, you had to subtract the 2 and divide by 2. All right? It wasn't anything real hard, but it's just something different that you had to do. On the confidence intervals for the mean and the proportions, you could do on your calculator. For the variance and the standard deviation, you can't do them on, and I hate to say you can't do them on your calculator, because you have to use your calculator to do them, but you can't
It's
just
so
punch in
long.
3 or 4 numbers and it give you the interval.
It's still on here.
Right. Make sure you know what charts we need. Z chart. When to use the Z chart? When your n is what?
It's less than or greater than 30.
Greater than or equal to 30. When to use the T chart?
It's the opposite way.
When n is less than 30. Chi chart, use when you're doing standard or variance
And the degrees of
and standard deviation. So when you're doing those two, that's when you got to use the chi chart. Need the degrees of freedom for a couple of them. Remember, that's just n minus 1. P hat. Sorry, I had to when I made out this PowerPoint. few years ago. I must not have found the P hat on my thing yet, so I had to write it out. So the P hat, that goes along with the probabilities or the proportions. That's the ones that say yes or the favorable, however you want to say it. How do you find Q hat?
It's the opposite.
Sort of the opposite. What do you do?
We subtract.
1 minus
Yeah.
P hat. Do we want to write down the keystrokes for the calculator stuff for mean and probabilities?
Yeah.
Yes, no,
Just
maybe?
safe, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do mean for large n's. That just means greater than or equal to 30. You have to find it in their notes there, and we'll write it down. I don't have it memorized, sorry. I probably could grab my calculator and tell you what they are, but that's too much trouble. I'd rather see you guys struggle and try to find it in your notes. Or all of you sit and just look at Isaac while he's trying to find it.
Go, Isaac!
And Lily's picking her fingernails.
It's my pen.
I'm supporting Isaac in this.
It's too.
It really matters what it is, Lily. You're not.
Is it, would it be for area or probability on the calculator?
It's less gross if it's.
No, it's for the mean. It'd be before that.
Before that? Maybe go back then. That's for rolls. Oh, fine.
The brother and sister on
There.
on Sunday.
Wait. Me.
It's not the next one, it's new. Do you do expressions for yourself?
That could be our next few days right there.
Well, no, it shouldn't be.
Oh, find it.
We're finding the intervals.
Large and easy.
Look for intervals.
Is it before or after signature?
Probably after.
Oh, confidence intervals right here. You have stat, test, Z interval,
Oh.
stats, enter.
Remember with stats, if we're just punching in the numbers, the S, the N, all that stuff, then we go to stats. If we're doing it off a list, then we have to use the data one.
And then standard deviation and population.
And then it's gonna ask you for S, and what was the other?
Standard deviation, and then X bar and N. And it's confidence level. And then calculate.
And then you hit calculate. It's gonna ask you for those three, you type in those three, S, X bar, N, and C. So that's what you do for, if we're doing the confidence interval for the mean, or, what is the mean for a population? It's not X bar, what is it?
It's the O with the, or it's the U.
Mu? About for small ones. If we have a small n, so less than 30.
It's all the same to a certain point, right?
Yep. So stat, test.
It was the interval. Or no.
Instead of Z interval, what was it?
The interval. An interval. Stat is one.
Then what?
This is the same thing.
Stat.
X bar.
And we have to hit enter again, I think, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And then it asks us,
X bar.
put in X bar,
S N and C.
S, N, and C. I think it changes the order of these, why, I have no idea, but, and go to calculate, is that right? How about for the proportions, for the probability stuff, the 40%, 50%, so on and so on?
Is this the probability that a confidence interval contains?
Stat.
Stat, tag.
Yes.
What is it?
One prop. That's ZIN.
So it's one prop, Z interval. So this tells you that you're doing a proportion, all right? So we're doing a proportion with a Z interval.
G, X, N, and C.
We have that, and I think we have to hit enter again, probably, don't we?
Probably.
I think I usually forget to put that in the notes.
X, N, S, C.
X, and not X bar, just X.
Yeah.
Remember, that's how many is yes, N is the total, and then C, that's our confidence interval, or our confidence level. That's the only three that we have to put in.
Yeah.
Remember, with some of these, some things that you need to know how to do, on this one, if they're just asking you to find the percent or the proportion, then it's always X divided by N. If they're just asking you to find like a proportion. Something else I was gonna say over here, I can't remember what it was. T intervals, T intervals. Finding the mean, finding the margin of error. Be able to explain these, make sure you can explain them once you get that margin of error. You're gonna say something like, with 95% confidence, we can say that the mean of the population will fall between the first number and the second number, whatever they are. Can't remember what the other thing was I was gonna say. I know it was important. Oh, well, it wasn't important to me, it's just important to you guys. Maybe I'll remember it once we look at stuff. Cody, did you laugh at me when I just tripped there?
I do.
You did?
If it would have actually tripped like fully well, I would have laughed, but.
You know what that means, right? When I do your test next time?
I did not.
She just did.
I was making sure my laugh box still worked. That's like the whole.
I'll make sure that my red pen still works next class.
I see.
Huh?
So we're gonna work some of these together, or?
What do you do at the first page?
Could we like work a little bit and try some more and then like
Sure,
come back?
so we want 15 minutes, and then
Yeah.
we'll do 15 minutes together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
15% or more for insurance.
Michael's gonna do that in 15 minutes, isn't that any good?
15% or more, I'm not good.
Nothing.
Nice.
Where do you work?
Remind me to start